They say you can feel it in your bones when something's wrong. And that night, I did. It was a Thursday evening, nothing unusual. He said he was going to the car dealership to check out a lease deal. We weren't looking for a new car. He hadn't mentioned it earlier. And yet, he had this urgent tone in his voice, like he had to go right away. I remember standing in the kitchen with a dish towel in my hand, watching his taillights disappear down the street. I told myself not to overthink. He'd been distant. Lately, sure. More secretive with his phone. Less interested in dinner talk. But we'd been married 15 years. We had a mortgage, a dog, a life. Surely, this wasn't that. Then my phone pinged. It was his iPad on the kitchen counter. He'd forgotten to log out of iMessage. I swear I wasn't looking for trouble, but when a message lit up the screen saying, "Can't wait to see you. Tonight." My stomach flipped. It wasn't from me, and it certainly wasn't from his mechanic. I tapped it. I tapped it like someone who already knew but needed to see it anyway. Her name was Taylor Work. That little hyphen, like that would fool me. Scrolling up, I saw days, weeks of messages, inside jokes, photos, hotel addresses, and not once did he seem torn or guilty. He wasn't confused. He was committed. To her. I froze. The house was quiet, but inside me, something cracked. I stared at that screen for what felt like hours. How long had he been lying to me? How many car dealership trips were really her? And still, I waited. I waited until he came back. I played dumb. I asked how the dealership went. He said, just looked around. Smiled, like a man who had no idea his house of cards was already falling. That night, I didn't sleep. I laid next to him, his back turned, while my mind spun through every moment I had trusted him blindly, every sacrifice I made while he gave his loyalty to someone else. But I didn't cry. Not like he would expect. I thought of all the times he dismissed my needs, the way he never remembered anniversaries, but remembered her coffee order, the way I carried our home on my back while he worked late to be in her bed. No more. The chatur. Next morning, while he was in the shower, I took the iPad and started screenshotting everything. Every message, every photo, every lie. I sent them to myself, labeled and organized. If he was going to lie to my face, fine. But I wasn't going to fall apart. I was going to hit back with the truth. And when I did, it wouldn't just break him. It would expose him. You never think it'll happen to you, not after 15 years of marriage. Not after building a life together, side by side. But betrayal doesn't care about time or effort. It comes quietly, disguised as routine. It creeps in while you're packing his lunch, folding his laundry, waiting for him to come home. And when it finally shows its face, it changes everything. The days after I discovered the messages were a strange blend of numbness and hyper-awareness. I'd watch him move around the house, same routines, same fake smiles. But all I could see was the man who'd spent months giving his heart, his attention, and his body to someone else. He thought he was clever, that I was too trusting, too blind to notice. But I noticed. He had no idea I was watching. I started collecting information quietly. Every time he left, I made a note, where he said he was going, how long he was gone, whether his story matched the map history on our shared car app. Spoiler, it didn't. He was careful, but not careful enough. What stung the most wasn't even the cheating. It was how small he made me feel. How disposable. Like all those years, all those holidays I spent alone while he worked late, all the times I picked up the slack so he could focus on the business, meant absolutely nothing. And then there was the financial part. Oh, I checked everything. Bank statements, credit card bills. Turns out Taylor wasn't just getting his time. She was getting gifts, spa appointments, jewelry, a plane ticket to Vegas, all paid with our joint account. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw things. But most of all, I wanted him to feel what I felt. The cold realization that the person you trusted most has been making a fool of you day after day while you were busy being loyal. And still, I didn't confront him. Not yet, because this wasn't going to be a screaming match in the kitchen. No, I needed to think bigger. I began sleeping in the guest room, telling him it was because of his snoring. He laughed it off, never questioning the distance. It was amazing how easily he assumed I'd never leave him, never question him, never rise above the mess he created. But I was changing. I could feel it. He didn't notice when I started taking meetings with lawyers during my lunch break. Didn't ask questions when I updated the passwords on our shared accounts. Didn't flinch when I asked for my name to be removed from a few things for tax reasons. He was too busy playing house with his mistress to realize I was pulling the rug out from under him. And while I was unraveling the truth behind every receipt and every lie, I also discovered something else. He wasn't just cheating on me. He was cheating the business too. Embezzling small amounts, moving cash under a dummy LLC registered in Taylor's name, the arrogance, the stupidity. That's when I knew this wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was theft. This was fraud. This was war. My friends always said I was too kind, too forgiving, and maybe I was, for too long. But betrayal has a way of flipping a switch inside you. It awakens something primal, and once it's on, you don't go back to being the woman who stayed silent. You become the woman who strikes back. I wasn't just going to take my heart back. I was going to take everything he thought he could steal. At first, I told myself it was just a personal betrayal, that it was between him, me, and the woman he was sneaking around with. But as I dug deeper, I started seeing the cracks spreading far wider. This wasn't just about a broken marriage. It was about how easily one man's selfishness could destroy everything I had built, piece by piece, without a second thought. See, I wasn't just his wife. I was also his business partner. The small real estate firm we started together 10 years ago had our names on every contract, every dotted line. We had employees who counted on us, clients who trusted us, and behind my back, he was funneling money to Taylor, setting up secret shell corporations, moving assets, creating liabilities in my name without my consent. He was dismantling our legacy while I was still out there, selling homes, managing clients, and making excuses for his absence. That's when it hit me. This man wasn't just cheating on me. He was preparing to leave me with the damage, the debt, the IRS notices, the legal mess, while he skipped off into the sunset with Taylor, smug and untouchable. He didn't just want to humiliate me. He wanted to ruin me. And it wasn't just about me either. We didn't have kids together, but I helped raise his teenage son from a previous marriage. Matthew. That boy spent every summer at our house, every holiday curled up on our couch watching old movies with me. I taught him how to cook. I sat front row at his school plays when his mom couldn't come. He called me Mom more times than he called his own mother. And now? Now he barely looked me in the eye, because his dad told him I was overreacting, that I was being dramatic. It was cruel, how fast he flipped the narrative, how he made me the villain while he played the victim in the eyes of everyone else. Family members started pulling away. Friends who used to call stopped texting. People bought into his charm, his rehearsed sadness, while I was left explaining myself for having the audacity to question him. But I didn't need their validation. What I needed was to protect myself. If I didn't act fast, I'd be the one holding the bag for his financial schemes. My credit would take the hit. My name would be tied to businesses I didn't even know existed. I could lose the house, my savings, my reputation. The worst part? He'd already moved on emotionally. He had Taylor. He had his excuses lined up. I was just a legal hurdle to clear. But what he didn't realize, what so many people don't, is that I had nothing left to lose, and that made me dangerous. I kept thinking about all the nights I stayed up waiting for him, all the times I defended him to friends, family, even myself, how I gaslighted myself into believing I was the problem, that I needed to be more patient, more understanding, less emotional. No more. This betrayal mattered because it was the last one, the final straw in a long history of him choosing himself at my expense. And if I let this go, if I walked away quietly with my head down, then every lie, every cut he made, every little piece he chipped off my identity would stay with me forever. He thought he could rob me of more than money. He wanted my dignity. But dignity, once it's lost, can still be reclaimed. And mine? It was coming back sharper than ever. This mattered because I was done being the one who cleaned up after him. This time, he would deal with the mess. I just had to show the world exactly who he was and make sure he never had the chance to do it again. I didn't need revenge that looked like rage. I needed results. If I wanted to protect myself and make him face consequences, I had to be cold, precise, surgical. The first thing I did was schedule a private meeting with a forensic accountant. I didn't want a regular lawyer, at least not yet. I needed someone who could follow the money trails, someone who could tell me exactly what he'd done in numbers that could hold up in court. What she found made my stomach turn. 3 LLCs in Taylor's name. 2 of them used to route consulting fees from our joint business account. Fake expenses billed to our company, money that was then funneled back to a personal card my husband used for dinners, hotels, gifts, all documented, all traceable. I sat there listening as she laid it all out, and the more she spoke, the straighter I sat in that chair. This wasn't just infidelity. This was fraud. And now, I had the receipts. Step 2. I made copies, digital and physical, uploaded them to a secure cloud, password-protected everything, printed hard copies and stored them in a locked box at my friend Leah's place, just in case. Leah was the only person I trusted at that point. She'd known something was off for months, and when I finally told her, she didn't gasp or ask 100 questions. She just poured me tea, sat down beside me, and said, "So what's the play?" It was time to move to phase 3, the legal side. I hired a divorce attorney who specialized in high-conflict financial separations. When I walked into her office, I was tired. By the time I walked out, I felt like I was made of steel. She reviewed the evidence and said, "We're not just getting a divorce, we're building a case." We filed for divorce under grounds of adultery and financial misconduct. In our state, that mattered, a lot, especially when it came to asset division. And, before he could catch wind of anything, I froze our joint accounts, reassigned our business's banking authority to myself using the emergency protocol we had, because I was still majority shareholder. He didn't even notice right away, but I wasn't finished. I reached out to a few of our top clients, the ones who trusted me most, and quietly let them know I'd be handling their files personally moving forward. I didn't trash him. I didn't need to. I just reassured them, subtly planting seeds of doubt about his recent distractions. It didn't take long before some of them started backing away from him. Then I contacted the Board of Ethics that oversees our industry, sent in a quiet, anonymous tip with the attached financial records. Not to burn it all down, but to let them know I wasn't going to be the one taking the fall. He'd built his entire professional image on charm, on looking put together and clean, but the truth was starting to leak through the seams. And still, he had no clue. At home, he kissed my cheek, told me he was going to grab a drink with the guys, and I nodded. I smiled. I watched him walk out the door like he wasn't one signature away from losing everything. This plan wasn't about revenge for revenge's sake. It was about setting the record straight, about making sure I wouldn't be the collateral, damage in his story. He made the choice to betray me. He made the choice to steal from me, and I was making the choice to end it all, on my terms. Because real power doesn't come from yelling or crying or breaking dishes in the middle of the night. It comes from calm precision, from facts, from proof. And now, I had it all. Once the plan was in place, it was time to execute. And every step I took had to be deliberate, smart, and airtight. This wasn't just about catching him red-handed anymore. This was about protecting my future, my finances, and everything I had left after giving 15 years of my life to someone who never deserved them. First, I opened a new bank account in my name only. I moved my direct deposit over, shut off access to my personal credit cards, and restructured the auto-pay settings for my bills. I wasn't going to give him the chance to drain anything before I could react. Second, I changed my will and the business power of attorney paperwork. He no longer had any legal authority over my medical decisions or my stake in the company. I replaced his name with Leah's. The lawyer said most women don't think of these things until it's too late. I was done being one of those women. Next, I got smart with the tech. I went through every device, laptop, shared home computer, my phone, and removed any software or linked apps we once shared. I checked for keyloggers, GPS tracking, cloud syncing. He might have thought I'd never question our shared digital space, but now that space belonged to me, and me alone. Then I installed a new camera in the living room. Not for revenge, just security. I didn't know what he'd do when he found out, and I needed evidence in case he tried to lie, gaslight, or worse, retaliate. Around that time, Taylor made a mistake. She called while he was at work, thinking I wouldn't pick up. Her voice caught me off guard. It wasn't seductive. It wasn't sly. It was nervous. She said, Is this Jenna? I said, Yes, and you just called my phone from my husband's contact list. She hung up, but the damage was done. I had her voice recorded. I had the call log. I now had even more proof that she knew she was interfering in a marriage, and that she wasn't just a passive participant. That same night, I emailed everything to my lawyer, transcripts, call logs, voice memos. She replied 2 hours later, This is gold. I also began reaching out to 2 of our mutual friends, quietly. I didn't vent, I didn't badmouth. I just asked subtle questions. Have you seen him with anyone lately? Has he ever mentioned Taylor outside of work? Most gave vague answers. One finally said, he introduced her to some clients as his business partner. We thought, you two had separated already. Lies, built on more lies. He had been erasing me, publicly, while I was still cooking his dinner and washing his shirts. So I stopped doing both. I pulled back completely. No dinner on the table, no small talk, just silence. I wanted him to feel the shift in the air, the ice creeping in. I wanted him to wonder what I knew and when I'd use it, and I made sure I never gave him a hint. Because that's the key to true justice. Let them feel safe. Let them believe they've gotten away with it. Let them relax. And then, when the walls come crashing down, they have nowhere to run. Before the week ended, I finalized the asset protection strategy with my lawyer. We filed a freeze order on any further company withdrawals without both partners' signatures. I sent out notices to vendors and contractors, letting them know that any agreements made without my written consent were invalid, retroactively. It was like flipping a switch. Overnight, the man who once had all the control found himself handcuffed by the very business he thought he could manipulate. And yet he still didn't see it coming. Because in his world, I was still the quiet, compliant wife. The one who cried when he yelled, the one who stayed, the one who forgave. But not this time. This time, I was the storm. He came home that Friday evening like it was any other, whistling, tossing his keys in the bowl, talking about dinner like nothing in the world was about to implode. I watched, him from across the room, calm, silent, composed. Everything okay? He asked, noticing the way I just stood there, arms folded. I nodded. More than okay, actually. That's when I handed him the envelope. Thick, sealed, heavy with everything he'd tried to hide. He raised an eyebrow. What's this? Everything you thought I'd never find, I said, and everything you're going to answer for. He opened it slowly. Inside, screenshots of the text messages, a printout of his company's false invoices, proof of the wire transfers to Taylor's LLC, bank statements highlighting luxury purchases made with joint funds, a transcript of her accidental phone call, and finally, my attorney's letter. I watched his face go pale. His throat moved as he swallowed hard. He was speechless, his mouth opening like he wanted to speak, but no words came out. I know. Everything, I said. The fake consulting fees, the shell corporations, the embezzlement, Taylor, Vegas, the watches, the hotel receipts. He tried to stammer. This isn't what it looks like. Good, I said coldly, because what it is worse. He backed up a step. You went through my stuff? I leaned in. No, I went through our stuff, the company we built, the money we earned, the trust I gave you. He threw the envelope onto the counter, deflecting like I knew he would. You don't have to do this. We can work through this. I made mistakes, okay? But this is going too far. I raised my voice just enough to make sure he knew I wasn't asking for permission anymore. You went too far. You just thought I'd never catch up. For a moment, he looked like he might get angry. His jaw tightened. His eyes darted to the door. Fight or flight. But I stayed still. I'd already fought, and I wasn't the one running. I told him the divorce papers were filed, that my lawyer would be contacting him officially by Monday, that the business was no longer under his control, that any attempt to move funds, make deals, or touch our joint accounts would be met with criminal charges, and I had the evidence to back it up. Then I told him to leave. He didn't move. So, I walked to the door, opened it, and waited. After a long, drawn-out silence, he picked up his keys, tucked his tail, and walked out. No suitcase, no dignity, just the sudden realization that his kingdom had crumbled because the woman he underestimated had finally risen. I watched from the window as he sat in his car for 10 minutes before driving off. That was the last night he spent in our home. In the weeks that followed, the fallout came fast. Clients stopped returning his calls. A formal investigation was launched by the Ethics Board. Taylor's LLC, frozen. Our business, rebranded under my name. Vendors and staff rallied behind me, not him, because they had been watching too, and they knew who really kept things running. The divorce moved forward. He tried to settle quietly, tried to call, text, even had his sister reach out to mediate. I ignored it all, because I had already reclaimed what mattered most: my name, my peace, my power. There was no screaming match, no public scene. Just a clean, complete dismantling of the lie he'd built around me. And now? Now I wake up every morning in a home that finally feels like mine. I run the company I helped build without the weight of betrayal dragging me down. I don't just survive, I thrive. And as for him? Well, karma doesn't always come loud. Sometimes it walks out the front door with an envelope in hand and never finds its way back. I'm Jenna, and I don't need revenge to win. I just need the truth. And that's exactly what I gave him.